Thanks for clicking on Sustainable. I'm Blake Desaulniers. Today we're going to look at energy, specifically solar energy. Until very recently, the multi-billion-dollar solar cell industry ran without process controls. If you can imagine it, none. Incredible, but true. Until Aurora SolarTechnologies came along and started to change everything. Here's Aurora President and CEO, Michael Heaven.
It's a staggering thought to think that there's over 600 lines of production with virtually no inline measurement and control and no quality control. The industry is in desperate need of quality control, and that's the huge opportunity that Aurora faces for now and in the future.
Aurora's solutions add even more value when used in a fully deployed process control configuration by virtually eliminating all low-quality cells.
If you collect those cells and process them according to a different recipe, you can turn the bad cells into good cells. And you can take those downgraded cells and eliminate them, saving millions of dollars a year.
Heaven and his partner came to Aurora with senior executive leadership experience in the process controls for pulp and paper industry with MeasureX and satellite communications provider Norsat. MeasureX ultimately grew to 2,500 employees and was eventually bought out by Honeywell for $600 million. From a production standpoint, solar has a lot in common with pulp and paper and other production line industries.
Yeah, exactly. The analogy to other process industries like paper, plastics, metals, dirty industries that are not very sophisticated, not clean room environments like you produce a solar cell in, absolutely had critical controls, measurements at key steps in the process, and they became mission critical, so you didn't run the line without the controls. And the labs were really there only to check the variation was that everything was calibrated correctly. But the controls were essential to run the operation. So my background in those dirty process industries, that when I look at a clean room environment for solar and you see no inline measurement and control, you see a huge opportunity and an analogy to make those controls mission critical. So our vision is to be the quality control solution provider for the PV industry, which has none today.
The solar cell market is growing super fast, and we can't find any analysis that shows the trend slowing long term. The numbers stack up exceptionally strong. This is a growth industry.
So we've seen explosive growth in the industry just year over year in capacity additions into the space. There's over 600 lines operating, growing 15% per year. But what people are doing is upgrading their older lines that are making a less sophisticated product and going towards passivated rear emitter technology, which has a layer on both sides of the cell, or to bifacial technology where you're actually creating an electrical generation on both sides of the cell. So when the cell is dirty, or when it snows, or when there's reflected light off of the surface it's mounted on, you generate 8 to 25% more energy. So people move towards this more sophisticated cells. That's where they're investing. And that's why we're getting the volume orders we're getting, because we're the only game in town for bifacial, and we're getting amazing results on PERC cells.
Aurora's success in Asia and elsewhere reflects in a growing order book from new and repeat customers. Among those customers, some of the largest solar cell producers in the world.
Yes, we've announced our first volume order in China, which will be an amazing showcase on a bifacial production line. We have another announcement with the largest cell manufacturer the largest solar panel manufacturer in the world, and they are evaluating our technology as they move into bifacial. And they produced 5 gigawatts of production last year. So you think of that, it's staggering how many units that could be for our systems.
In addition to providing stronger revenues, new orders from the likes of Hanwha Qcell and LG Electronics amount to a powerful endorsement of Aurora's technology.
The key thing for us today is the volume orders that are coming from those leaders in the industry, which is sending a signal to everyone else that if you want to make a consistent, high power, more sophisticated cell, you need Aurora's technology.
With a growing order book, Aurora now forecasts continued revenue growth for the remainder of this year, and as far as we can see, well beyond.
So last fiscal year, we were about $300,000 in revenue. The one fiscal year we just completed at the end of March, we were just above 1.4 million in revenue. Already this quarter, which we have just finished our first quarter, we have a backlog that exceeds last year's revenue number substantially. So we're very bullish on, again, having another quadrupling of our revenue going into this year and maybe better than that. If we were able to win the volume order from that largest cell panel manufacturer in the world, obviously that could take those numbers much higher. So we're seeing substantial, significant growth for the company, and that's what differentiates Aurora today. Is we're not a story. We're in revenue. We're in production. We filled our production through the end of August, and we'll continue to fill it through the balance of the year.
With share prices below 30 cents and a market cap in the $10 to $20 million range, Aurora shares, arguably undervalued, may well see upward momentum as the year progresses. Ultimately, given management's history and the world-scale market potential for Aurora's products, it's reasonable to speculate that, as was the case for MeasureX, major engineering and tech firms could come calling with acquisition dollars. Put ACU on your screens and consider the time you invest in due diligence well worth it. Aurora SolarTechnologies, Inc. is listed on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ACU and is traded in the U.S. on the OTC Bulletin Board under AACTF and in Frankfurt under A82. For Sustainable, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.